Well, welcome everybody to one thing we haven't seen yet on this podcast platform, Music, Movie, Sports, and Stuff, a live edition. And we thought, why not break the ice, but with an amazing guest, which we'll get to in a moment. And we have with us here the much mentioned and not seen enough, and we'll get him on more, Big Haas. Big Haas, how you doing today, buddy?
How's it going?
Excellent. So it is warm in Southern Ontario, which is where I am. It's warm in Colorado, which is where Big Haas is. And it's warm for our guest. And I'll let him explain it all. So without tap dancing around too much, please welcome Myles Crossman. And he can introduce who he is, what he does, and why he's here.
Hey, guys. My name is Myles Crossman. I'm a writer, producer, and director. I work a lot in film and television. Right now I'm in Gimli, Manitoba, on the shores of Lake Winnipeg. I live in Brandon, Manitoba, which is up here in Canada. And I work in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is kind of between these two places, which is, I guess, about 2 hours north of the geographical center of North America. And speaking of hot, I think we set some heat records in my town over the weekend here. Like, it was ridiculous. I've never been so happy. I got
Downtown Toronto was 45 degrees today.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
45 Celsius for my American viewers that's what, probably about 105?
Yeah.
About that.
But it's the humidity that kills you.
Yeah, it's the humidity. Yeah. You can deal with heat, but the humidity is what brings you down. So here's my first.
It's different.
Here's how I get to know my horror friends, because you're my people. I do music, I do movies, I do sports, and I do stuff, but horror movies is me and my heart. Who would you say is your biggest horrific influence?
Oh man, John Carpenter.
John Carpenter. And why would that be?
Because I love the way that he just shows it. I like that you can see everything that's going on. I like the way the pacing works. I love his use of music in the films, in his films. And I mean, honestly, my favorite horror movie is In the Mouth of Madness. And I mean, sadly, Sam Neill died this week, or I think it was just yesterday. And and because of that movie, he was one of my favorite actors. And I don't know, I feel like when I watch his movies, they're not just horror for horror's sake. It's not gore for gore's sake. There's something going on. There's a bigger story. It's always kind of tied to a deeper mythos. And I love that world building that is present in every one of his films.
Which is interesting, because I know a lot of people that love John Carpenter's on their Mount Rushmore, but they usually mention The Thing or they mention Halloween. They don't necessarily mention In the Mouth of Madness. So, yeah, R.I.P. Sam Neill. I mean, a lot of people and my friends talk about Jurassic Park, but I agree, In the Mouth of Madness is it for me. Big Haas, do you have a question for our guest?
Yes. What was the topic today?
Today he's a horror director.
Okay. How did you get into horror directing?
A great question.
It's a great question.
So start out in your grade 2 play in front of the kids in Saint Alphonsus School back in
So I grew up like, I mean, many of us did, of a certain generation, in a pretty religious environment. And I think it was always the stories that we grew up with, and the ones that always, I guess, that I was more akin to, were the Revelation stories and the Merkava mysticism and, things like this, that sort of fantastical, that I'm thinking about all the demons and all these things that are...
Yeah.
Those are the things that always tickled the...
You were captivated by Revelations? You were captured by Revelations?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of my favorite ones in the book.
That's
one of my favorite ones in the book, honestly, is Revelations. It gets so in-depth into it that it's more interesting than, say, most of them are.
Well, I think the thing about great scripture, what makes something scripture, is its ability to apply to every moment. It doesn't matter that Book of Revelation was written in 70 CE or 90 CE by John when he's on the Isle of Patmos, and it applied directly to Rome. It also applied directly to 750. It applied directly to what was going on in the world in 1000. It applied directly to the world what was going on in the world in 1500, and it applies directly to what's going on in the world right now. And that's what makes, I guess, stories. That's what makes it scripture. And that's what makes it sacred. Is that ability for something to tap in to I would, for lack of a better word, to tap into the zeitgeist of humanity and to transcend its own moment and carry forth into the future. I think that's
awesome. Now, knowing that you're from my neck of the woods in Canada. Now, everybody thinks Canada's close. You are in Manitoba, which is a neighboring province, but it would be a 3-day drive for me to get out to see you. So
yeah.
Just to give people an idea of, I know a Canadian. Well, really? Yeah, I know Peter from Saskatchewan. Well, that's great. Hi, Peter. How are you? But as a Canadian,
really nice.
Yeah, it's probably nice. Or what is it? The commercial, the guy goes, I don't know your name, but I'm going to call you Gord. I just assume you're Gord. One of the great Canadian directors of all time is Mr. David Cronenberg. How would you say his career has impacted Canadian filmmakers, not only in the types of films that he did and breaking through there, but also dealing with Parliament and the red tape of government and being able to use the resources that's around him? How much do you think that has had an influence on you 45 years later?
I think it's really interesting because I actually just wrote a letter a couple months ago. I tried to wrap it up inside of this big projects idea, and I sent it to the Minister of Heritage and Culture, asking to bring back the I'm blanking on what it's called. The
tax credit.
The tax credit, the blanket tax credit, to sort of bring back these dentist films. I was like, why don't you bring this back and unshackle, kind of the investment dollars so that people can just make what they want to see and it not be tied to what so it's not just tied to what, it's sort of these groups of artists, these artist boards that sort of decide what gets through and gets funding, which is
or make it have to link to something in our heritage or something. Just go make
exactly. Yeah, just go use real IP. Not if you can make it up, that's great. And I mean, I'm really blessed to know a lot of comic book writers and a lot of authors and other writers where I get to work with them and hear about their stories and their ideas. But anyways, to come back to what you were saying about David Cronenberg, I think he came up at a time when we were trying to make that Canada was sort of in this, was having this identity crisis of what was our art and how are we representing in the world. And through these films, through these tax credit films, they were able to basically, people were able to invest in films and then get a tax rebate based on their investment. And I think that if it's a confluence of just exactly the right moment of being a creator in that environment and also knowing how to stretch a dollar. So I think that design aesthetic of that Cronenberg sort of came up with, I don't know how to describe it because they're so singular. They really, I think it informs what we do now, because even myself as an independent Canadian filmmaker, I'm doing the exact same thing in using my found locations, using anything I can beg, borrow, or steal. And really, when I make a film, I'm thinking about how does this not just represent me, but how does it sort of represent my bigger community and all of that, and all the different people that are working on this.
Yeah. I mean, for those unaware, Canada used to have a system where, depending upon how much you invested in your film, you'd get X amount of dollars back from the government of Canada. And it was first used to try to get some creativity and some jobs down here. And what ended up happening was the market was flooded with these low budget films that weren't half the time that good, or half the time were literally used as a tax credit to use money for people that had money just to use. But it created some great films. My Bloody Valentine is an example, or The Prom Night. Like, some of these films from the early 80s slashers came as a direct result of these. But let's get out of the 1973. Let's get to modern time. What is it that you are working on right now, or have just put out, or if you have anything that we can save something else for later, but what is it you're working on now that you can talk about with great clarity?
Okay. So we just released my first feature film, which is The Princess and the Dragon. That just came out on April 7th. You can find that on YouTube Movies. If you search The Princess and the Dragon movies over 20 minutes, click those things, it'll come up.
I was going to say, I did a quick search today, and there was something about the small dragon and the little princess and something.
Yeah. You'll have to select movies over 20 minutes. It'll come up. So we just put this film out, and it's really a film about, it's a treatise on bipolar disorder, really at its heart, and it's really about what would happen if you were in a facility where your internal feelings were being projected into your external reality, and how you would resolve that. And I think, the plot of it is a young woman wakes up in a seemingly abandoned asylum, and she has to find pages. She has to unlock and solve these escape room like clues to assemble a storybook, all while being chased by an axe wielding dragon.
I will tell you, Myles, I've seen the first 45 minutes, and
Okay.
I purposely left the last half for after our conversation,
Okay.
hoping you didn't give me any spoilers.
I will not.
Okay.
And I hope I didn't.
What I like about the film is that it's got a very dark atmosphere. You've got a bit of paranoia. You've got a bit of the unknown. You've got a mystery on your hands. Did that come from personal experience? Like, I'm not asking to talk about your mental health. All I'm saying is, do you have maybe your own journey, or someone you know, or is it completely fictitious and you just kind of adapted it to a film for 90 minutes?
I don't know anybody who isn't affected by mental health in North America. I don't know anybody who doesn't have a friend or a family member, or even themselves at times, who aren't feeling so hot. And I think when I think about this film, like, there's a lot of people worked on making this story, and a lot of us came together. Obviously, Gregory and G&B Chemichuk and Dr. Jonathan Ball came up with the original story, and then myself and Eric Falstead, who wrote the screenplay, and then one of our collaborators, Mark Kizek, who also helped with some story elements. All of us have had experiences with this, and all of us, it's one thing to just make a scary movie and one thing to make a horror movie, but what makes a horror movie actually scary? When I think about that, we didn't want something that was so on the nose, but we also didn't just want another blood and guts movie, because I feel like then the movie is just like, what is that? Is it because I think horror movies are cool, or are we trying to say something with the film? And I think coming from the spirit of trying to say something with the film and making it meaningful and important, I think is the only thing that gives you the wherewithal to finish a no budget movie, because it's so hard.
Our podcast, our platform is really about uplifting good spirits, and we have a really big emphasis on positivity and mental health. And so, to me, how horror fits in is, one, it makes you think, and two, it gives you a diversion for those times when you're spiraling. It can give you a chance to look elsewhere. Big Hoss, is there anything you'd like to add from mental health or anything else?
I got a question for him. How do you decide what is scary for the audience?
Ooh, good one. I like that question.
You know what? I don't know. I think it's just your own experience. And you think about what's scary for you.
Right.
And I don't find gore scary. What I find scary are situations that are uncomfortable. Like for me, the scariest feeling is being in a circumstance where I see somebody being embarrassed. Like that just rocks me to my core. Like I will shut a TV show off if I feel like somebody's going to be humiliated. And if I saw that, like the quickest way for me to get into a fight is to see somebody being embarrassed by somebody else, because I do not appreciate that at all.
I
mean, obviously that comes from.
I had to explain that to some people too. That's also what's scary for me too.
Yeah. Well, see, I agree with you, your last two answers, because for me, I mean, I've seen 5,000 horror films, a minimum. I wouldn't say I'm desensitized, but even in my real life, it takes a lot to scare me. What scares me more is the 6 o'clock news, because that's reality, and that's the things you see going on, what's going on in the higher machinations of government or international disputes or what have you. They scare me a lot more than somebody getting eviscerated. Like, I know that that's fake. I know that I've seen movies that are as gory as anything, and I watch intently because I want to see how real it looks. Like, I give it up to the practical prop man or prop woman. So I completely understand that.
I have another question for him if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you prefer physical horror or supernatural horror or slasher?
Oh, that's a good one.
I prefer supernatural horror. I love supernatural and the occult. I really think it's like, for me, that's the great mystery. And anybody can tell you whatever they want because nobody actually knows. Right? You can go back as far as you want, but emotions are still emotions. People still exist. We're all still here. The universe is still here. How did that happen? I don't think that the chemiosynthetic breakdown of the universe and us just the ability to describe everything that you can see and touch, that doesn't explain all of the things that I feel, and that doesn't explain consciousness.
Right.
That just explains my physical world. And so when I talk about and I think about the supernatural, we're going beyond that. I don't know. That's how I look at that. And when I think about the supernatural realm, I just think it all goes back to the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing people that he didn't exist, right? Because now, especially living in kind of this nouveau, everybody's sort of a secular humanist, that most people that I talk to, and they would discredit these types of things, right? Or discredit whatever, any kind of religion, which I think is obviously based on some kind of personal understanding of that. But I just find the supernatural to be the most, I don't know, I prefer that the most, because one, I just feel like the answers aren't there if I'm just looking at the physical world. That doesn't answer the world for me, and that doesn't explain how we're having this conversation or even thinking about it.
Now, I will agree and I will completely disagree with you all within the same sentence. I agree. Some of the best horror films ever made are supernatural. I tend to look away from them for the reason being there are so many bad ones. Because I find supernatural these days, it's some sort of ghost. You hear the chains jangling. You all of a sudden hear some moans and some cheap jump scares and some fictitious story about a haunted house or something. And then everybody just look. Go ahead.
My favorite show is actually the show Supernatural.
But what I was gonna say is that when they're done well, they're absolutely fantastic. I mean, you can go all the way back to The Exorcist, and you can go back to The Omen, and you can go back to The Changeling, and those are for me, top 100 horror movies of all time. But for every one of those, I mean, this may be a hot take, but I'm not a huge fan of the Conjurings because after a while, if you don't buy into the Warrens, you know, like the actors are all right, but after the first one, I've seen them, but I can't say that I enjoy them. Am I in left field or
no? This is interesting because I was just reading an article before I came on here. I was surfing the net while we were waiting to start our conversation here, and there's some guys in Denmark who are doing research on this right now at a university there. Can't remember his name right now, Matthias something. And there's a sweet spot in horror, and that sweet spot that triggers something mentally for us that makes us enjoy it. And there's a line where it's either too much and it becomes unenjoyable, or it's too little and it's unenjoyable. I mean, obviously that point is going to change for every viewer based on their experiences and whatever. But the fact that research is happening and that people are really sitting down to try and find an empirical, they're trying to break down, you know, what's scary and what is this and what isn't it, I think is really interesting to me. So when you're saying, oh, well, I find that this is overdone, it's like they've become a cliche in and of themselves. Yeah. And so they can't be scared anymore. It's like watching a Marvel movie. It's like, oh, how'd they do that? Well, it was computers. Well, that's always the answer. The answer is, oh, it's computers. Well, then who cares? And that's the same thing.
Yeah, the thing for me, a good jump scare, when done effectively once or twice in a film, can work. If you're relying on the jump scare as your main mode of scaring people, it's not going to work.
I agree.
Jace or Big Hoss, did you have anything else you wanted to mention, or do you want me to take it?
I got some other questions.
Okay, give him a real deep personal one that'll make him think.
Okay. What do you think makes a great horror movie?
Yeah, let me build this up a bit. If you were given a $50 million budget and you could have one or two main stars, what is it fundamentally about a horror movie that you would want to inject?
I think the theme that I would be exploring in that film would be about loss and reconciling our own grief with generational grief. And I try and do some kind of Cloud Atlas style horror tale that transcended these different, across generations and across centuries, that all tied together in and I would try and make it like a medieval horror film. There's something
there really is a lack of medieval horror films. We could use that, could be a whole subgenre that's underutilized right now.
Oh man, I'm still working on one right now. You don't even know.
I got another one. I got another question for him.
Okay, well, let him finish.
Okay.
If you're shooting it in Toronto and you need an extra, you let me know.
Okay, I will.
Okay, so go ahead, Haas.
What's one piece of advice you could give aspiring horror filmmakers?
Yeah, someone trying to break in, somebody just trying to look, because I know a lot of people in these Facebook groups that say, I want to get in. I have an idea, but I don't know where to go from here. Now, the Canadian experience might be different than the American experience, but tell me from your point of view.
I think you have a better camera in your pocket than they shot episode 1 on. So, one, there is no barrier. There is no I need to break in anymore. The difference is the doers and the makers and the takers, right? So if you just make something, use no film school. Go online, use YouTube. use these sites that'll help you build that out. If you want to have a story, have your story, build it out, learn how that works. I mean, and YouTube's your friend. Anything that you want that you need to learn. I didn't know how to edit a movie. I edited our feature film that just came out. I think it was okay. I don't know. You tell me, Bill, if you thought, oh man, this was shitty editing. I don't know.
No, what me as someone who's seen a lot of horror movies, what I noticed right away was what I like to call purposefully paced. In terms of, you didn't get a splash, you didn't see some bare breasts, you didn't see blood right away, you didn't see a big car crash. That you're building it until it hits. And that's what I noticed it as a viewer, never having seen it before.
Nice.
I got another one for him.
Okay.
Well, can I finish my thought? Let me finish my thought on the breaking in.
Yeah.
Because I think this deserves more time than we're giving it.
Yeah.
If you want to break in, get your friends together, and specifically if you want to make horror, and this is your dream to do that, just make the cliches. And you don't need to start with a feature film. Start with a scene. Start with a moment. Start with, get your little brother and your big sister together, or whoever you got, and and your friends from school, and just recreate the scenes that you want to have. And then with that, when you're going to do that, find something that you want to say, have a point, because that's what makes the horrors great, when it tells a real story that connects with the audience on a deeper level than just, oh, that was so bloody and horrific and I'm shocked. And that's cool, and there's a place for that. But if you can marry having a story about something that you want to say, something really specific, whether that's about love or that's about loss or that's about, vengeance is a dish best served cold, any of these types of themes, or something you want to say, and you tie that into your actual story and your plot, because your plot is what's happening in the movie, and your story is what you're really talking about. And if you can combine these two things and get that on screen, you're going places.
Well, and here's Haas, give me a moment and I'll let you give yours. Trust me, I'll give you lots of time.
Go ahead.
I agree with you on many points. Like I threw out the example of Peter Jackson and the movie Bad Taste. Have you seen Bad Taste?
I have not.
Anyways, it was his first major film. It took him, I don't know how many years, 4 or 5, 6 years to finish it. He'd do it with weekends with his buddies, and I get that. Now, if you watch it really closely, you'll see their hairstyles change because it took 4 or 5 years. But you want them to get together. Where do you see a lack of film topics that you think could be exploited? Where does it need to go, other than we talked about medieval? What areas do you think are underutilized or have yet to even be utilized?
In the horror genre specifically?
In the horror genre itself, yeah.
Like obviously medieval, we were just talking about that.
Yep.
And I think what we're not seeing right now, I'm not saying this has never happened or it won't, or it isn't currently happening, or it didn't happen in the past. Right now, what I'm seeing is so many of these films that are so gung-ho to be rated R that we're missing that sweet spot to catch that PG-13 audience. And it's easy to do that. I mean, this can expand it expands it all. All you need is less swearing and less blood and no nudity and a great story. And honestly, it all comes back to the story. These stories are what matters. That's why people watch cinema. We're watching it for stories because we want to connect. We want to feel. We want something to tingle our brain. We want to work out our fears about death. We want to work out why we get scared at night. We want to work out why I don't want to walk alone at night. These are all why is true crime so popular, right? Like this is what this is this itch
Right.
this is scratching, and horror scratches this same itch. And without, I think what we're not doing is we're not providing a middle audience. This middle audience, we're exposing kids who are interested in these themes and concepts. The only choice they have are these extremely violent, extremely like just rated R or should be rated higher exposure to these things that they're going to seek out and grab, and we're just not giving them what they need. And I mean, obviously, Five Nights at Freddy's, great film that came. Who like millions of kids went to that because they want to feel that too, and they were provided something where they could gravitate towards and that they could enjoy this feeling that we enjoy as adults. And I really feel like that's underserved, and that more filmmakers should be.
If they wanted a better version of that, they should have gone to see Willy's Wonderland. But anyways, that's a
Right.
that's
But you know, that's aside from the point, right? Like it's just,
yeah.
I don't see that as being offered. I mean, so you watch Ghost in the Dragon. That's a PG-13 movie that kids can watch and hopefully get some scares out of it. But it's not so,
Yeah,
it's just not
like I remember as a kid, my dad taking me to see Gremlins.
Yeah.
Now, Gremlins was a film that kind of crossed that line, and literally, as a result of that, in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, they created the PG-13 rating, because there are films that are kind of in that middle ground. I'm a guy. I'm known as a gore hound. I love gore for gore's sake, but I can also appreciate a good story. Next question I'll give to you, Haas. This one I just re-watched for the first time in years was Martyrs. Have you seen the French movie Martyrs?
No.
Okay, because Martyrs is a film. Normally, I'm not big on films where some action represents grief. Some movie represents a relationship, But Martyrs is a film that crosses genres and makes you think. And while there is some graphicness to the film, what sticks with you is the writing. So how underutilized. I see a lot of people throwing zero budget films on YouTube where the story is just, okay, we're going into the forest, we'll get naked and we'll kill each other. Like that's not a film. How much is not being utilized enough as far as writing a good horror film?
Like right now, we're seeing a lot of stuff that is exploring trauma, and we see a lot of trauma-based horror. Which I mean, granted, that's horrific, and I totally.
I think since the Babadook, everybody wanted to jump in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there's. Man, that's really tough because I can only write about the things I know about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but in general, in the industry, where do you see the state of story writing? Like even in movies at large, how do you see the writing? Is it not done well enough? Is it people getting too cute with it, or is it you think it's healthy right now?
No, honestly, I feel like we see this crazy dichotomy between the art films and the blockbuster films, where where you have the art films are so overwritten that we're trying to, there's all these different, it's just overwritten. There's too much character.
Everybody thinks they're Fellini.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess, I guess I don't need the prerequisite half an hour to get to know the character to care about them. I, in fact, don't care.
Yeah, the best films, you don't give two hoots. They're lamb to the slaughter.
Well, and I think more than that, it's because it gets the feeling of being overwritten, and I can fill that in. Audiences are really intelligent. I mean, for some reason, there's a lot of filmmakers or people in general always seem to think that the other doesn't know what they know. They do. They're just like us. They're just like you. They're just like me because they are me and you.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's not
who do you think is going to go pay for these things? The social elite? I don't think so. That's going to be all
like what are we talking about? And so I think that what we're looking at here is you need to respect your audience more and trust that they know what you're talking about. Trust that they understand who the character is. I don't need to get to know them. It's okay. Yes, okay, you need to introduce them, whatever, that's fine. You don't need to beat us over the head with it.
Yeah, I don't need the sociological profile of jock number 2. Not needed.
Yeah. But even the leads, like, come on, what is going on? All that gets played out in one scene, you know, of a male character who's looking at himself in the mirror, holding his belly, and then puts a shirt on. Now I know everything I need to know about that guy. Right? I know everything I need to know.
Yeah. And some of the best is when you don't give a backstory and you just see. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Haas, what do you got, buddy?
All right. Have there been any funny or unexpected moments while filming a scary scene?
Yeah, I can imagine the scene what I've seen of your film. There's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of things coming out of the woodwork. I can't imagine anything ever funny happens, does it?
I'd say, like, making a horror movie is the funniest thing you can do. You got to keep it light. Like, what is happening? Everything you're dealing with is horrific. That is funny. And I think, I mean, obviously, I'm a jokey guy. I like a light environment. If I'm not having fun, then why am I even here doing this? Right. And like when I'm making a film, or I feel like if I'm on a film set, and basically anywhere, I feel like I want it to be a good, enjoyable experience for myself and for everybody around me. And, you know, I think what's unexpected for me is when you can see an actress or an actor deliver a performance. And I think this is something I find so inspiring about actors, and why I think we gravitate towards them as sort of treat them as icons, is this ability to transcend their own emotion in their space around them in the midst of the chaos of a film set. So, you know, I'm on a Laffy Jokey's film set because we're just making a fun horror movie, and now our actress is there, locked in, having a heart to heart with another actor. That, you know, like, how do they do that? How do they transmute their emotions in such a way so quickly, and turn it on and turn it off in such a way that, I don't know, just creates a moment.
You always hear about scenes where, you know, somebody tripped over and a candle fell, or walked through a wall, or, like, I'm not saying somebody getting injured, but, you know, there's always these quirky little things, obviously, that always come up. Too much blood oozes out, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. The funny thing is, so in our film, we have a lot of cartoon overlays and two-dimensional graphic overlays in the film. And that was all born because I was trying to hide an effect that didn't quite work. We had a knife stuck in a blood bag, and we're like, okay, we're going to pull it out, and then it's going to splash with blood, and we're going to have like this ECU on it, and it's just going to work. When we pull the knife out and the blood goes, not
quite so dramatic. Not quite so.
It was horrible. We're like, no. It worked. Like, you know, we tested it a bunch of times, but then, you know, when we got on set, and then now you have, you know, 15 people standing around staring at you, it started to become really difficult to pull off. And, so,
did you have to deal very much with closed sets?
No.
No, you didn't have to. Okay.
We did a little bit, but I mean, and honestly, it was just out of respect for when we're having a really emotional scene.
Yeah.
I think we just sort of said, okay, whoever doesn't need to be in the room right now doesn't need to be in the room. But it's also a byproduct of shooting on location and being in a found location, because we're not using, and this is basically on any of the films I've done, I'm not building a set in a studio and then shooting, and then there's like 100 feet behind the room. No, if I'm in a room, I'm in a little tiny room, and that's what you got. And so, you know, a lot of the times these places either aren't heated or aren't cooled, so the amount of people in the room matters.
Gotcha. okay, I'm going to give you a little insight into me. What scares me in horror films is the death scream. For example, the Canadian movie, as a result of the tax uh, payments, is Rituals. And there's a scene at the end of Rituals where a guy is literally burning to death, but you don't see it. You just hear it. And that's what made there's a scene in I Spit on Your Grave where there's a girl sitting in the basement or the lower level and someone screaming to death up there. Those are the kind of things that scare me to death because you can literally be hearing somebody die. What aspect of horror films, no matter what, genre of horror, gets you going?
Honestly, for me, it's the world building. And I hate that now I'm going over something we already kind of discussed, but I love supernatural world building. I love mythology. I love any opportunity to explore the ethereal realm, either in new ways or in the ways that we as society have attempted to do so over our existence. And so when I watch a film that has a great mythos created, I love it. And again, like, I think of myself more as a storyteller, and I guess that I happened to make a horror movie. It's
you're Canada's Edgar Allan Poe. Let's put it
I don't know about that, but let's dial it back. Let's dial it back a little bit here, but I think of myself more as a storyteller, and I do. Yeah, I just love world building. I love seeing the world created. I love that.
Okay. Now I know we're getting tight on time. One more question, then we'll let everybody know about you. To me, when I ask that question about what genres are underutilized, I think there's two these days. There seems to be a lack of body horror, and I think body horror could be used a bit more. Not cheaply. There's lots of body horror in low budget films, but on a decent film, I think body horror is underutilized. I would also love to have a version of the Italian giallos come back, where there's that aspect of mystery, where there's that aspect of trying to figure something out while stuff happens. And you can also create your own universes, because if you got a good giallo series going, they could go forever. Can you imagine Columbo, the horror version, or something like that?
Yeah. See, so when I think about, I've never heard it pronounced that way. I always thought it was Gallo. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
Giallo. Giallo means yellow in Italian.
Okay. And so our cinematographer, Andrew Forbes, was always referencing this type of film. When we were making Princess, he was always referencing these giallo films. Yeah. These giallo films, and I thought that was so it's funny that you brought that up now.
Well, have you seen very many?
No.
Okay.
No, I have not.
I'm gonna give you one to start with, and then to go to next. The godfather to me of those films is Dario Argento. I'm sure you're aware of Dario Argento. He has a film called The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and he has a movie, and he has one called Deep Red. Deep Red is supernatural giallo horror, which you will appreciate. And the score is by a band called Goblin, who was a prog rock band that was.
I know Goblin.
They're still kicking around, I think.
Yeah.
So that's my point of view. But Myles, where can the people find you? How can they see your film? Where might they see you in appearances? And then you can reveal what you told us about prior to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'm on Facebook as Myles Crossman. I'm probably the social media I use most. Our film you can find on Apple TV. You can or what used to be known as iTunes. You can find us on, I guess, YouTube. We're on, but make sure you check it to movies over 20 minutes, or you're just gonna get kids shows. You can find us, I believe, on Google Play, and we're available in America from. You can also find all these links at our website out at storybook.com, and you'll sort of go into storybook.com and you push enter. And if you want to, we have a phone number I encourage you guys to call at 1-888-53-STORY. That's 1-888-537-8679, where you can leave a nightmare behind. And follow the links in the push button business.
You know what? You're now going to get every elementary grade 8 class is going to be sending things to you.
I hope so. That's and so then from there, I would love to say we just found out that coming up probably next year, we're just about to start season 2 of UFO POV, which is just such a fantastic, interesting show. So it's UFO POV. That'll be on A&E in the UK. It'll be on Super Channel in Canada. And I'm not quite certain where it's going to be on in the States, but I know you can find it where all great things are seen.
Well, is it kind of like an HBO kind of Lifetime, like somewhere in that cable universe?
Yeah, I wouldn't say HBO, but so what we do is we take a real UFO experience. We have a geologist to talk about what's under the ground where that happened. We have an aircraft engineer to talk about what they saw and how that craft was moving. We have some people from MUFON to talk about UFOs and all sort of the UFO people. We have an astronomer who finds a planet, a possible exoplanet where we believe life may exist outside of our solar system. And then we bring in a theoretical biologist to discuss and combine all of our discoveries here into what that UFO POV might actually be. So
when we're done here, I want you to give me the insider link because I got to catch up on this show because it sounds great.
It's amazing.
I'm a history guy. I got a history honors degree, and this is right in that archaeological ancient war. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Big Hoss, do you have any last words of anything for Myles?
Myles, it was really nice to meet you. I look forward to possibly talking with you again.
Absolutely, man. Really nice to meet you guys too.
Yeah, so that's Justin, awesome. If you're listening, come on in. So we want to thank you for coming on and enlightening our audience. I look forward to seeing the last half of it, which I purposely held off on until we had our conversation. And your storybook website literally has an ancient castle. You have to press on the moat to get through, and so that's awesome. I love that. So anything, if you could do a medieval supernatural tale of people while they're fighting, like out on the shields and the horses, I am all in. You give me that screener and I will be watching that like crazy.
Who isn't, man? Come on.
Well, some people are like, I just want boobs and blood. Yeah, I like that too. But I also like one that'll make you think.
They want that. They want it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
All right, Justin, what do we have to show the audience?
Oh, right. That's right. I knew there was something else. I got to find it. Hang on 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves.
We talk amongst ourselves. So how many... Okay, quick question. What was the last horror movie you watched?
Well, In the Mouth of Madness. I watched it last night because Sam Neill died.
In honor. I love him. I love the German guy, Jürgen Proctor. I think he's fantastic.
Oh, awesome.
All those sticky notes everywhere. I love that scene and he's sitting in the asylum with the padded walls. Fantastic.
I think that anything that makes you create or has the character thinking that they're creating their own universe or they're somehow investigating something that they're really the source of. I love that. Like, I think my favorite TV series was Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And then episode 1 of season 7 is by far like the best episode of TV ever created for me, where they have Benjamin Sisko. He wakes up and he's in the insane asylum, and all of the people that are, all the bad guys in the series, like Wei Yun and Ducat, and they're just doctors. They're like, you got to stop telling your stories, Ben. And he's looking around the sane asylum, and he's drawn out the entire television series is written out on the walls of his cell. I'm like,
all right. And what Justin had just put up is, can you throw it up again there? Is you're now part of our series of 1001 Cryptic Tales, a spectacular horror series. And
amazing.
The other thing, so you will be one of our, we have people involved who are behind the camera, people involved in front of the camera. And what we also have is a chat group. Are you in that chat group already?
I think he is, actually.
I am. Yeah, I am.
Yep.
Where we involve creatives and of all types in the horror industry. So be sure to throw your ideas in there. And we loved having you, Myles, as a fellow Canuck. I'm going to go have a poutine and an O. Henry. They have no idea what that is.
Oh, Henry.
Oh, Henry. So everybody,
I'm so hungry.
we have lots of more interviews coming up. We have lots of promotions. We have lots of things for the audience. So if you love your horror, if you love interviews, or if you just love hanging with us, please check us out on the Airway Kingdom Network through music, movies, sports, and stuff. Everybody, ciao.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.